Welcome back to the basement. DB here with you. We've got our 83 Chexx board pulled out here, ready for operation. Got all of the tools set out that we need. Soldering iron fired up, desoldering iron fired up. We went ahead and checked the board over. We diagnosed it with a bad power regulator, and that's these little 5-volt regulators. This is the power box that's mounted at the bottom of the game, sends power in here, and this makes it to 5-volt power to power the board. And clearly this one, they should match and should have some numbers on it, 7805. Kind of see there, but yeah, it should match that one, and it's clearly blown to smithereens, so we're gonna replace that one. I'm assuming a power surge hit this one because it also blew out the number 1 connector pin here. This is what goes to the scoreboard. This is the ribbon cable. Scoreboard on that one still lights up and works, so maybe it was just a quick little flash, and I didn't notice any damage on the ribbon cable either. But I'm going to go ahead and replace the ribbon cable, and I'm going to check the power supply out. The fuse in it's probably blown out too. I haven't even got to that yet, but when we mount the board in, we'll check the power supply too. But yeah, I went ahead and pre-bent the legs for the regulator. They come straight, and they just got to be bent just a little bit. They're pretty flexible, so I just put them on the edge of the table here, and you can get the little corner edge you need, and that's what I did, and I just sized it up to pre-fit. So I've got that set to the side. But yeah, I went ahead and got my regulators. I went ahead and got 3 of them. That way I've got extra just in case this happens again. I think it's a pretty common power regulator there, the 5-volt, especially in arcades. So I've got a couple extra if it happens again. I went ahead and got the pin connector. We know it's an 8-pin, so we'll break this one away. That's how it's designed. We'll however many pins we need. We know it's a 156 connector there, so we got the right size. We just however many pins we need, we'll break away and then solder that in there. So we've got that. We've got our soldering here, our lead-free solder. Also got soldering set up, desoldering's warming up, so it's ready to go. And big thanks to Peter at arcadepartsandrepair.com. That's where all the parts come from, so another big thanks to Peter there. I'll put the website in the bottom there again. He usually has everything I need. I can look it up. Pretty fast shipping too. He's not too far away from me, so I get it pretty quick. So yeah, we'll just kind of support the board here. I've got to desolder that little nook right there, so I've got to get my little gun in there to take apart the regulator. So yeah, let's get it in there. You can kind of see it here. So it makes this gun really nice. Fit it in there to where you need to go. So it's still screwed in, so it won't just fall out like most little chips would. So I'll go ahead and unscrew it here. Get a little bit bigger screwdriver. That there, the washer, I mean. Let's see, grab my little trusty flathead and get a little desoldering right there, probably. Okay, having a little bit of trouble because my desoldering gun was a little bit clogged up. I guess I hadn't cleaned it maybe in a little bit, but it does come with this tool. I'm usually good about that. Just want to run it right down the tip there to get any kind of solder that might not have went all the way through. That was the problem. Back to good suction here. So let's get this thing out. I can even hear the difference there. So this thing's been stubborn. See if she'll pull out now. Maybe. Get my pin back in there. There we go. Got one pin broke off. I got to pull that out of there. Of course. I'm just trying to get my iron right on the, there we go, just right on the pin of it, and it'll soften that solder up a little bit and come right out. So we'll clean up that spot a little bit with our gun here. Clean that old solder off. Go ahead and just do both sides here. Well, we got all fresh solder to go on the new one. Alright, so we'll fit our new one in the holes here. I'll go ahead and just put it in the board first. Get the pins going through there. And then get my flathead to give a little coercion. There we go. Alright, just gotta press them down in the holes a little bit. Finally got it to go. I just need to push them there. And those legs, they're breakable, yet they're flexible. So be easy, but you can maneuver them into place there without breaking them, just like I did. And that's why I ordered extra, just in case I monkeyed it up. So let's go ahead and put our screw back in before we solder. That way it's in place there. We don't want to solder it out of place. I did put the lock washer back on underneath it. So we'll get that tightened down. And we'll get a little bit of solder thrown on it. We'll start on the underneath side, and just supporting the board here with this tape. This capacitor makes it uneven, so you got to have something there to hold it. So that's why you see a roll of tape there. Don't bash on me too hard. You got to do what you got to do. So all right, we'll get our regulator soldered in. Let me see if I can zoom in here, and we'll get us a bit better look at this. Get my headlight on it. Alright. So it is in this little nook of this. It's a mounting bracket is what this little thing is here, but we'll just get a little solder in there. You just want to get a little bit. It's a tight space. You don't want to get so much solder in there you just join all three of them together. So takes just a little bit. You come in here heavy-handed, you'll be in trouble. You'll be desoldering it off there to try to fix it. Missed that one entirely. Been a little BB. Pull it out here a little bit more. So yeah, I'm not a professional solderer by no means. It doesn't take an expert doing this for 20 years to figure it out. Oops, I'm gonna have to. Oh, there we go. So you can kind of manipulate the solder where you want it to go. I thought I had messed it up there. I had 2 pins there, but just kind of keep your iron on it. And I just moved it right over. And then this 3rd pin here. Yeah, just a little touch. That looks pretty good there. I can see spaces in between. Hopefully that shows up on the camera with my headlamp, but yeah, I can see spaces in between each soldering, so I know I got just the right amount. So I'll flip it back over here. I'll just throw a smidgen on the top here. I can see where, clean off my soldering tool. I can see where a little bit's come through, so it doesn't need a whole lot. Just maybe a touch to kind of top it off there. Actually, these two look pretty good. I can see the soldering there. So yeah, there we go. Power regulator installed. Let's let me zoom out here a little bit, and we'll try to get this connector off here now. See how that goes. This is maybe the funnest part. I can just set it there. So I already looked at it. I know which pins I need to take off. I don't want to go to this small one right here, so I'll start on the left side. Can't tell if that's solder or part of the. Oh, you know what? We got another monkey fix here. See, you always find stuff out whenever you go to mess with these old boards. These boards have been in operation 35 years and been in operators' hands that are for profit, so they'll kind of do what they got to do. So that's why I'm kind of having trouble here. There's a wire, feels like speaker wire, connecting this pin with this pin. Get it on camera here, I'm sorry. So that's why there's kind of a big blob here. That's the trace there. They kind of fixed it with some wire. So I'm going to have to try to jimmy that out a little bit. I mean, I guess it might have worked, but we'll see what we can do to try to clean that up and get it an actual trace again. I've got some copper wire that I think we can take between the two if we need to. Yeah, let's see if most of this should start lifting out of here. Okay, I finally got the old connector off. It took a little bit of manpower, but there it is in pieces. Time to put in the new one. I kind of cleaned up the area here. You can kind of see, it's not an uncommon fix. It was just a wire connecting the two to help with the trace right there, but we're going to put something maybe a little bit more heavier duty in, maybe just solder the pins together here to make the connection. something a little stronger. So we'll see how that goes. So let's get our connector out here and break off 8, 6, 7, 8. Snap that one a little early here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Okay, so as we break off our 8-pin clip here, this one has a key to where you can't put it on backwards. So this 3rd pin we actually want to cut out. Pull out, I should say. And then on our ribbon cable, Peter at Arcade Parts and Repair also gave me the little molex key. That way we can't put it in backwards. You know, the outside pins are not used on these Chexx ribbon cables, so we put it on the 4th one in here, but it's the 3rd pin, so that way you can't put it in backwards. So you wanted just a little plastic piece that you can order as well, just a little 156 key, and that way you can put it in your ribbon cable there, so you won't go backwards. Because with this new one, we won't have the little clips in to see which way goes which. So as long as we got that key in there, it won't be able to go this way, only that way. Okay. So now that we got the pin pulled, and you'll see it on the board here, you'll see a little spot there where it was never punctured, so you'll know where the no pin goes. Pretty good little tight fit there. Should stay in when I flip. Okay. Zoom in a little bit here. A little bit of old flux from the last repair. This has got flux in it as well, this soldering wire, so that's why you won't see me use flux. It's already got 2.5% in it. And you can go either way. I've got flux in the tool chest here if I need it. And all that does is just help the solder flow, helps it stick. You get a good connection with the flux. Okay, so I'm going to add my little trace fix here. Let me see, I cut one down to size. That one here, I'm going to get it tacked on and I'll be right back. Okay, I got that little pin tacked on to it, and instead of using a wire, I just pulled a pin out of this old connector here, and then trimmed it down to fit between here. And I'm just going to test it out. We'll see if it works or not. I guess the worst thing is it blows it out again. And I'm just going to add some more solder to it just to good connection here. Okay. That may work out there. Solder back on there. Connected. Zoom out here a little bit. So there's our new connector. So yeah, it just doesn't have the hooks on this side, but with that pin pulled out and the key and the ribbon cable, we shouldn't have any problems. So yeah, I think we're good to go. Each thing in place here. Another thing I just want to go over real quick, since I've got some time here. A lot of people have problems with the chips here, and these chips, they're all socketed, and that's a good thing about this 83 board. Socketed chips, they're not directly soldered in. So you can do what we call reseat the chips here. So say if your scoreboard's having problems, goals aren't registering, the sounds aren't there, look at the pins on these chips here. You can kind of see there's little silver legs here. Just make sure they're not black, or you'll see some that are even burned out and rusted, depending on where they've been. So just look at these legs right here, and you can kind of see which chips you may need to reseat. And it's really easy to reseat here. I'll leave it down, zoom in here. I'll try to do this one right here. So all you got to do, you don't even want to pull it out of the socket. Just get a small flathead screwdriver and just get under the chip right here on the end, and then just pry it up a little bit. You can even kind of put your thumb there to make sure it stays on it. And see, I kind of lifted it up a little bit, and then same way with this other side. Get under it and just pry it up a little bit. See, I kind of lifted it up there. That's about right. You just kind of want to lift it up a little bit and then just push it back down. And you'll just go front, back. You may even kind of hold it with both hands, but push it left and right, left, right. So it's down. One or two little pushes, you'll feel it go down. And then that one's done. We reseated that one, and you can keep going to the next ones and doing them if you think you may have trouble, but that's how you reseat a chip. The 83 board has a lot more chips than the newer boards. The newer boards, you may only have, it's like 3 or 4 chips, so it'll be really easy a lot easier to reseat the chips on there. But that's basically the tutorial on how to do those. Yeah, so we're gonna check out the power supply first, make sure the fuse is good in it before we actually turn it on. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this put back in, and we're gonna test it out. Okay, back here at the Chexx game. I also wanted to go over replacing a molex connector. These are the connectors that go onto the game board, and every now and then you'll have one that is messed up like this one here. I'll zoom in a little bit. You can kind of see it's smashed up. It should have another connector here. Here's the new one. So yeah, you can see the old one's messed up. It's been repaired too. It's got some old tape here. So we're just going to cut it off and put the new one on. Sometimes you can reuse these, and there's a little tool you can get to push these pins out, and that way you can reuse them and you can just replace the pins. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to repin it and put on a new one. So you just want to make sure you put the correct wire in. So one side's flat on these, so just make sure you put green wire on the right, purple wire on the left when you look at it. So we're just going to do one at a time. Sometimes when you get in arcade games, you'll have some of these that have 9 and 12 wires in them, so you just want to do one wire at a time. So I also got some new female pins here from arcadepartsandrepair.com. There's female and male pins. I just go ahead and order 100 at a time. That way I've got them. This is like I said, the .084, so it's a common size. So let's just go ahead and cut this old stuff off. This green one, and then we'll strip the end just a little bit. Don't want a whole lot. Just enough to stick it in the female pin there. That's probably about good there. I'll go ahead and twist them up a little bit. Here's the pin. Just put it in there. Just inside to where the little bottom grabber part, you want it to put on the wire cover, not on the bare wire, but just on that cover part. But that's how it'll go. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in. I'm gonna put it in the crimper. You want to get this crimper from arcadepartsandrepair.com as well. It'll make life a lot easier. So I'll just go ahead and set the new piece in there. Click it a few times. That way it kind of locks down in there. So all I have to do is just thread the wire in, and then I finish squeezing. Makes it a little bit easier. Good enough. Now we'll go ahead and put it in the connector. And go ahead and just line it up again. Make sure you do it right. Flat in, around here, flat in, so it'll be on the right side, and they just clip in there. Stick it up in there, and you'll hear it click. Right there. I felt it. You won't be able to pull it out. It's got little, kind of like little barbs on there that'll engage, and you won't be able to. All right, here we go. There we felt it click. Just shove it in there real good. It'll be just inside the lip there. Now, on to the next one. Cut it. Straight. Grab my thing out. In here. Next one. Just stick it up in there. There we go. And that's how you get a nice new connector on there. So whenever I put the new board on there, we'll be able to clip in a lot easier than this old piece of junk. So more to the trash pile. Okay, I think we're down to judgment time here. I've got everything put back together on the game board here. Let's connect our scoreboard. You always want to hear that click, that way you know it's all the way in. So yeah, I've got everything put back on. Another thing, this power supply here, this little gray box inside, there's a fuse on the left hand side. I had to use this little mirror to be able to see it and get my flathead screwdriver on it to turn it to get it to pop out. That was actually the problem with the very first Chexx I got. It was just that little fuse in there. Swapped it out, fired right up. So that's another thing to check. A lot of people don't know there's a fuse in there. So yeah, you always want to double check everything. I've got everything plugged back in here. I think I'm good to go. I'm a little hesitant, but I guess we're in it together here. Let's see if she works. Fingers crossed. Well, she's live. A little static on the speakers. may have to change the speaker connections. All the lights are working. That's awesome. Let's see if she coins up maybe. I don't know if that's static. There's nothing on the board there, but it does have power. That's a start. I guess we just need to figure out how to get it to coin up. Definitely nothing. Alright. So we got power. We're going to try to figure out why it's not coining up now. So I'll probably go back through here and reseat these chips. Pull the board back off here, and I may go ahead and just get a little quick film of that. Well, I guess I already did earlier. So I'll just go through each one of these, reseat them, throw it back on, see what happens. Okay, so still at it with the Chexx that we're working on. I went ahead and brought its brother over here. That way we've got something to compare. This one is another one I'm working on. It's totally working, so at least I've got a working template I can compare everything to, which has come in really handy. So some testing that I had to do, some tools that's good to have. You can get these little voltage little testers. You can click them on and see if you've got power in certain wires or not, and see if certain things are working. Another Gardner Bender multimeter. This is vital. You got to have one of these. This is the cheaper model. Just switch it to AC/DC. Test probes. I've got the Fluke 77. This is a lot better meter. Fluke's probably the better brand name ones to get. These are, I don't know, like $150 or so. Shout out to my buddy Keith K that's in the Chexx group. He hooked me up with this one. He had a couple, so got this one and using it, and that's my main one now, so appreciate it. But yeah, so I'll go over what I tested. As you can see, I pulled the power supply box out because we do have a problem there. What I did, or had to do, so I went ahead and unplugged everything, and with my voltage meter set to DC here, if I plug the game in, everything's unhooked here. Here's what comes out of the power supply. Plug it in. We won't hear anything because I don't have the scoreboard on or anything. Ground to your ground hookup here. And then you can test your voltages here. Let me just see if you can see that. Oh, yeah. And you can kind of see the numbers. So then we just stick our, this is the main power one, so we'll stick it in there. Seeing it's only reading like 1.8, 1.9 on that one. Middle pin, what, like 4.5. This yellow pin, 1.5, 1.4, which that's super low. That's not good. I guess the other one's just to check. We already know we got a problem with that one, but green wire looks like 1.5, purple wire 1.5. But that's too low. I'm gonna go ahead and unplug that because we got problems there. Whenever I plugged it into the other one, we're getting like, I'll have to check later. Maybe I'll put the voltages on the screen there, but it was like 40 or 60 volts AC on it. So it's got something wrong with the power. We're not getting the juice we should. I think we've got the board fixed. Now we need to open the power supply and fix something in there, whatever took that shot, or I'm looking for another power supply. That's what it's going to come down to, but I'll go ahead and get that shell pulled off and zoom in on it and see what we're dealing with. Okay, down to the last screw, I think, here. Let's see if I can take it off. See what we got. Never been in one of these. Okay. Looks familiar, looks like an arcade with transformer. This is where the power would come from. Looks like we do have a capacitor there. That may be the problem right there. So, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, vacuum this out, and try to pull this little board here. I bet it's going to be that capacitor right there. That's the old style, so I'll get into that, pull it out, be back. Okay, I've got the power supply taken apart, and I do think we found our problem in probably our next video, rebuilding the power supply. Luckily it's just a little board here. I'll kind of zoom in on it and show you. That's pretty good there. So we're talking about this board here and this capacitor here. Right here, this black one. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it has a big lump here on the top. Maybe that light helps, but clearly something's going on inside there. Big lump, it's all uneven. Kind of got even a few burn marks here. You can tell it's been maybe getting a little hot. But even just the back of it, all that corrosion all around these solder points. This is where the wires come into this board. And when we say reflow the solder, that's at these points right here. So what I would do, and what I'm going to do in the next video, I'll desolder these points and resolder them. I got to order the capacitor for this. I'll get that coming from arcadepartsandrepair.com, and go ahead and just rebuild this guy. Reflow solder, new capacitor, check all the other connections inside there. Replace what needs to be replaced. So that's the problem. We'll get into that, and hopefully we can get this Chexx working. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have some success here.